Hey listeners, it's Paul Andriola here. Why not join our community at Small Cap Discoveries, where we offer our members direct access to some of the best microcap investment opportunities available. Our members are getting access to premium microcap financings, research reports, and direct access to management. Sign up today at www.smallcapdiscoveries.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Small Cap Discoveries conference call. Today is June 16th, 2025. And today on our call, we have back the team from Cheelcare. Cheelcare is soon to be trading on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol CHER or CHER. The company did its last financing at 75 cents and will have about 19.6 million shares outstanding, or about a $15 million market cap. I'd now like to hand it over to Paul Andriola.
Hey, thanks, Trevor. Yeah, great to have the team from Cheelcare here today. A number of the key individuals involved in the business. Eugene, we had you here back in November. It was quite a while ago. And we've obviously, Trevor and I have been following you guys very closely, obviously aware of many, many updates. We were lucky enough to do a site visit about a month ago. And certainly it was very busy. And as I described it, you guys were tripping over each other, getting stuff done. So certainly happy to have you here. Happy to have the team here. Excited to hear about some of the latest updates. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hand it over to you, and maybe it'll be helpful at some point to introduce everybody that we've got on the team here.
Okay, thank you, Paul. So on call from Cheelcare, I'm Eugene Cherny. I'm a CEO of the company. We have Dima Paltsev, who is a CFO, and we have Alan Boyd, who is our Chief Growth Officer, so responsible for the growth of the company. So let me start a little bit for the people who are not familiar with the Cheelcare, who we are. So Cheelcare was started 10 years ago as a high-tech medical device company. We basically set the goal of improving personal mobility. About 1% of the population, can you go to next one, Trevor? 1% of population resides in a wheelchair every day, and they have great needs. And unfortunately, the industry was lagging behind. So we set off to cover that gap and to apply modern technology to mobility equipment. And that's what Cheelcare is. So we're headquartered in Richmond Hill, Ontario, hopefully soon to be moved to a new location, but at this time we're in Richmond Hill. Next, Trevor. So I don't know if any of you know, but the first power wheelchair was invented in Canada by Dr. Klein after World War II in 1952. And since then, there was some evolution, but evolution wasn't revolutionary, so to speak. Vendors keep creating new plastic covers and advancing new colors in the wheelchairs. But more or less, if you look at the very left, you can still find a lot of wheelchairs which look exactly the same. What we produced and invented is actually a revolutionary wheelchair which used all the modern technology for the wheelchair. Next. Currently, we have three streams of revenue. One is advanced robotic rehab wheelchair, which at some point Alan would talk about more. And then we have two more streams. One is called Companion, and it's a power add-on for manual wheelchairs. So basically, it's like a scooter which you can attach to the manual wheelchair and give its occupant freedom and ability to move around, to go places somewhere they can't wheel by themselves. And then there is a whole line of accessories related to the backup cameras, USB chargers, little things which allowed us to get known in the industry, to build our name during that time. So this is the three main revenue streams. Next. So companion came out of necessity. As soon as COVID hit, we realized that a lot of people are stuck at home now because public transportation is out of reach and you can only wheel yourself so far. So Companion was designed and it's already patented, patents are issued. as a really easy to connect and really, how would I put it? There were equivalent products which were more targeting outdoors and riding trails, but nobody thought that going to next door convenience store is much more important. Getting around on a subway is much more important. And that's how Companion was built, as the life-changing device. And we had a lot of people commenting on it and telling us that one of them, Alan, he said, I have two life-changing experiences in my life. First one was when I broke my back and had my accidents. Second, when I got Companion. So imagine making a product which draws such comparison. So that's a Companion. That's our main revenue line to date. And we just finished the year. It's close to 1.7 million in sales. Companion also is the one and only device approved for reimbursement in Ontario, for example, by government. No other device of this type was ever approved. And now we're on the way of getting same type of approval in other jurisdictions. We already have Quebec, and we're trying to sign other provinces and in states as well. Next. So Curio, our newest and latest product, and I will let Alan to talk about it. Just a word about who Alan is. Maybe he will introduce himself and then talk a little bit about the Curio.
Okay, yeah, hi. Again, my name's Alan Boyd. I've been with the company since November 2023, but I've been in this industry for 28 years. And when I say this industry, I'm referring to complex rehab and powered mobility in particular. Prior to this, I brought a company called Permobil to Canada. Permobil is the #1 market share currently in the world, and in a span of 10 years, I grew sales here in Canada from $600,000 to $41 million. And prior to that, I was involved in a company that designed high-end complex powered positioning for powered wheelchairs, and we ultimately sold that to a company called Invacare. I met Eugene close to 10 years ago, and I've kept close with them. And I joined the company mainly because of Curio. The Companion's been an eye-opener for me in terms of how the market has received it. Talked to one client when I first came on, and she mentioned that I asked her, "What do you think of this Companion?" She goes, "They're my wings." A very profound statement when someone makes a comment like that. The Curio is very unique, and as Eugene showed you earlier, there's not really been a lot of evolution in terms of powered mobility. And in this complex rehab, I don't want to just qualify. It's not like a scooter or anything of that nature. It's not what we call community power. It's complex rehab. Here in the province of Ontario, for example, the government funds about between 125 and 135 of these types of chairs a month. And these chairs will have actuators to allow you to power tilt, power recline, power elevating leg rest, power elevation. And so the Curio, very unique. First of all, we use lithium battery technology, which none of the other our competition does. And saying that, a fully loaded chair, a Curio that is, weighs a little over 200 pounds. The competition weigh about 450 pounds. It's literally half the weight because of the battery. The other thing the Curio does, it has the lowest seat to floor height of any complex chair in the world at just over 13.5 inches. The typical is 19 inches, and the best you can get is around 17 inches. Doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're transferring, whether it's onto a toilet or into bed or whatever, it's very important, because these types of chairs are an extension of an individual. They need them to exist. They use them every day. It could be a quadriplegic or someone with a neuromuscular condition that needs this for their basic mobility. This chair you see in the picture, it's got a joystick mount, but you can also have it with sip and puff, proximity control devices, any sort of alternate drive control. What's unique about the Curio, aside from its weight, it's got 4-way independent suspension. No other chair has that, which is adjustable from a passive to an active ride. It does not use front casters. Those wheels you see are omnidirectional wheels that were first patented in 1919 in Sweden. They're usually used for industrial applications, whether it be construction or mining or like a large forklift trucks. With casters, they tend to move. They don't tend to. They'll move when you move the chair, and these don't. So it gives you omnidirectional movement, which is very unique. And so its ability to climb over stuff and go over, gravel driveways, things of that nature. There's nothing like it out there. The chair itself. So everything I explained to you about this, what's really why I'm here is that this chair with its unique technology fits within the current reimbursement landscape, whether it's here in Canada or with Medicare and Medicaid services in the United States. That's CMS. We're not applying for any new type of funding, so that's critical. So it's priced just like the competition, and so with our chair, a couple of your unique things with the tilt function. Not only does it do posterior tilt, it also does anterior tilt, which some other companies can do, but we do lateral tilt, and this is a very unique feature where you can laterally tilt somebody. You're trying to prevent sores in particular, and quite often you want to laterally tilt a little bit to offload, say an IT, and also a little bit of dump. It's got a very unique power recline. And so we showed it for the very first time into the American market in particular, just recently this past spring at the International Seating Symposium in Pittsburgh. It is the show for us. It's all the players are there, all the prescribers are there. It's an educational show. And in the exhibit hall this year, for the very first time, they have what's called a hands-on center. And what that is exactly, they had a gravel pit, they had wood chips, they had thick thresholds, areas to transfer over onto. And our competition would go in there, but after a while, they prevented their chairs from going in there because they would get stuck in the gravel pit. I could drive the Curio into the gravel pit. I could stop and take off again. No other chair could do that. And so really catching people's attention. But one of the most unique features to the chair, it's called auto leveling. There's actually a chip within that chair. It's very unique. And what it does, it allows when the chair is driving, regardless of the terrain, it maintains the position of the seating. So if you go up a hill, it'll auto level. If you go down a hill, it'll go auto level. If you're on a laterally tilted sidewalk, which every sidewalk is, it'll auto level, which is critical for someone who has limited trunk support and needs that. And it's the first of its kind that ever. As simple as that. Some of the we also had a key therapist at the International Seating Symposium do a presentation. We had over 75 people in attendance. One woman therapist stood up from North Carolina at the end and said, "I've just met these guys yesterday, and I cannot believe what I'm seeing here. All of my clients live in a rural area. They don't have paved driveways, and now they can't get out of their home without help." So, very unique in terms of its ability to where it can go. Whilst we were there, one of the largest buying groups in all of the United States is United Seating and Mobility. Their senior management group spent about an hour with me on the Curio and taking a good look at it. And basically at the end of the meeting, the one product manager, the senior one, says, "Alan, this is going to be a paradigm shift in this industry." And something I've always thought, but I've never said it. And it's the first time I've heard it. So the reception to the Curio has been overwhelming. I get emails and calls weekly since that show in the spring. Want to know when the chair is ready and for trials, and so very excited about launching it into the market. It's revolutionary to say the least.
Yep. Yeah. So if we skip a couple of next slides, which talk in depth about the Curio features, and I'm pretty sure this presentation is available for everyone for little details. I want to keep going. I want to talk about that's maybe also not today. Let's go, keep going. So yeah, stop here. So we're small, we're a Canadian company, but what I'm really happy about, we were able to establish the network of dealers all around the United States, and lately in January, so that was since last update, we got invited to National Seating and Mobility's Academy, where we got to present our products to, I don't know how many, it was hundreds of salespeople all around.
Close to 600.
Close to 600 salespeople all around the US. And National Seating and Mobility is number 2 dealer, or even number 1 maybe, dealer network in the United States. So they now carry our products. They're extremely excited about the opportunity of bringing Curio on board for distribution and resell. So that was another major event and major recognition from the industry of our products, of our company. During that time, since last update, we also signed a couple of new sales groups in California, in Midwest, I think.
Yeah.
And we just signed another representatives in Western Canada and in Alberta. So we keep expanding our sales network to bring products closer and closer to people. Okay, next. So basically, a little bit about the market. So about 5.5 million people in North America uses wheelchair every day, and that's our target audience. So if we look at that, we can go next slide. And that number is unfortunately growing organically. Market is split into manual chairs, power wheelchairs, and a complex rehab. Complex rehab is only 25% of all the wheelchairs, but when it comes to money spent, it's actually completely in reverse. Most of the money in the industry is spent in a complex rehab. Whole market is about, US market is about $2 billion with a worldwide market of about $5 billion. And that's where we're basically going to go once we establish ourselves in US. We already have numerous inquiries from UK. We signed a new dealer in UK, which is now actively selling our accessories, and we're on a way of obtaining regulatory approvals to sell companion in UK.
We also at the International Seating Symposium, the largest distributor for Australia, New Zealand, met with me, and they're all over it. They want to start selling it as soon as it's ready as well. So luckily, with my connections throughout the industry, it's very easy for us to establish these sales channels and distribution partners moving forward.
Yeah, so now let's talk maybe a little bit about the business model. So next slide. Yeah, so growth of our history. We start, initially we were selling only accessories, then we have companion which came on board, and sales of companion grew quite nicely. We started from 2019, we sold 0 of companion, and to date we sold 1.7, 1.8 million. That even caught attention from Deloitte Fast 50, who recognized us as a company, and they reached out to us to be selected into Fast 50 growing companies. We didn't meet the criteria on some technicality, but at least attention is there, and there is interest in our company. Can we go next? So if we take a look at the number of units sold, we went from 0 to last year we sold close to 500 units within the short span of time, and that number is growing each year organically, and with the change in the US landscape, that number can go even higher. Next. So trajectory, growth trajectory. So where we're going. So now we're growing except on companion-based sales. We expect approvals from Ontario and FDA to come within this summer, and then you will see the big uptake in terms of revenue, in terms of production, in terms of everything. And then revenue numbers are going to be substantially higher. Next. Okay, so that's the part of market which I just discussed. It's when are we going to do filings? We already done some. FDA, we're on a way of completing probably this month the filing. So it's really exciting future. Next. Yeah, so team members. We here maybe you know what for this presentation let's stop at here. You have a copy of the full presentation, and then open the floor to questions so we can actually provide the information you really want to know.
Fantastic. Thank you, Eugene and Alan. Thanks a lot for that. Yeah, reminder, those that are listening right now, if you got a question you'd like me to ask the team, please use the chat function and we'll do that. I mean, listen, great presentation. You've answered a lot of my questions. But one of the key pieces now is that you're about to go public. All the capital that was raised in December has been sitting in escrow, really, for you guys to get access to now. What do you do with the proceeds? Like, what starts to happen now that you get this $3.5 million roughly in capital?
So main objective is to get Curio on the market. So what will first, like matter of first priority is to get a bigger premises so we can set up manufacturing. And in manufacturing, we're really blessed that Toyota Motor Company single us out to provide free services to advise us on a proper manufacturing setup. So we can produce quality product, fast, efficient, and they are helping us to set up our production line. At the same time, we made contact with a US manufacturer who will be willing to manufacture Curio in US in case of tariffs getting out of hand. So far, I'll anticipate the question, we pay zero tariffs. But that all can change overnight, so we're trying to do. So that's where the first money. We need to build a fleet of demos. We need to start manufacturing and start selling them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So from my perspective, the
Yeah.
demo are probably the most critical thing is, as we strategically go out into the market, we're just north of Toronto, so the largest spinal cord hospital in all of Canada is Lyndhurst. It's actually the first spinal cord hospital ever, first developed after the First World War. They're 20 minutes from us. I've already been there. As soon as we're listed with the assisted device program here in the province of Ontario, they want demos going in. And so work with our local people, and the more, that's the type of product. When people get approved for a chair of this nature, you usually have it for 5 years before you get your new one. So it's a very important decision. It's an extension of who you are. And so no one's going to get one until they trial it. So trials are very important, and working with a occupational therapist who will actually assess the client in terms of their positioning needs and their mobility needs. And we will, as soon as we start getting the demos out into the field, we're going to start generating sales.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, to reiterate, I mean, it's critical that you get these demos out in the marketplace so that you can get, trials and people, play around with them so they understand, especially occupational therapists are understanding exactly what they're prescribing to their patients, right?
Correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe let's talk a little bit about just sort of the financials of manufacturing piece. Right now, it's assembled. The Curio is assembled at your facility, which is tiny. When I saw many people buzzing around, it was like a beehive. You literally had Curios in the hallways, like you were running out of space to have these in there. What happens once you go to the new facility? What are the costs associated with getting one of these things built and then sold? What do you sell them for? What does it cost you?
Initially, usually economy of scale. The first units which we built, they cost probably between $10,000 and $12,000. They sell for about $20,000 to the dealer, and dealer sells it for about 35 to 50,000 to the government. So for us, we will need to invest into some tooling. We will need to set up, and that will take at least probably couple of $100,000 to set up the proper line, and then we start building them. We anticipate, again, futures. I probably shouldn't be talking, but we're hoping within the next 3-4 months to reach level of making 20 units a month, and then I'll give you an example. With Toyota's help, they also helped us with production of companion. If initially it was taking us about 2-3 units per day in assembly, with their help, when we got a rush order for 20 units, we were able to assemble it the same day. So it just shows you how proper organization of labor and good supply of finances, which allows us to keep the stock of parts, will help us really build up and ramp up the production extremely fast.
Mm-hmm. And Eugene, you talked about where you're hoping to get manufacturing costs down to, 10 to 12,000 right now. What do you think you can theoretically get the cost down to per unit?
Ideally, we need to get to the level of about 6,000.
Okay. Okay, so $6,000 per. So you're
And
talking
that's
obviously,
realistic number, yeah.
That's
yeah,
realistic.
that's realistic. So ideally, if you can get them down to 6,000 and selling for 20, obviously there's pretty high margins in this product once you get that level. That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, you talked about manufacturing. You've got a couple different options right now in terms of some contract manufacturing as well. Let's talk maybe a little bit around patents. You filed a number of patents. Can you give us a general sense of what is patented? And Alan talked about the uniqueness of this, but maybe where's the patented uniqueness here?
Okay, so the very first patent, it was a patent on Curio wheelchair, and it basically, there's a 20 claims. So we patented having legs, we patented having suspension in legs. So there is a lot of different things. If somebody is interested, we can provide patent numbers and you can read up on all of them. When it comes to, we also submitted patents on our hinge for the backrest, because what we do, we provide zero shear backrest, and that draw a lot of attention at International Seating Symposium, because the simplicity of it, the ability to cause no shear when you recline, people were amazed that you can do it with almost nothing.
It's very, very not very. I want to make sure I don't overstate the importance of that. For any of you who have ever been in a dental chair and they recline you, you'll feel your shirt getting pulled up your back, and you pull your shirt out and you do that because they're shearing. And when someone cannot move and they recline in a power wheelchair, which is very important to open up your hips, and we're dynamic by nature, so we want to move. And to recline and having that shear, you can get skin breakdown, and that's critical. And they've been able to develop something that I personally have never seen. Most people do with a series of linkages. It's cumbersome. There's a lot going on. They were just able to identify the appropriate pivot point. And as soon as I saw it, I go get this, apply for patent. They did right away. It's a very unique thing that they've done with respect to that.
Hmm. I'm just amazed. I mean, Eugene and Dima, and the engineers, you guys don't come from this industry. You guys come from the outside the industry, but you've applied so many of these innovations because of where you've been outside this. I just find it fascinating that somebody outside the industry is making all these innovations.
I'll comment because
Yeah.
been very fortunate over my career to work with some very smart people. I'm an engineer myself. I have never worked with a brain trust that I have at this place, not just from a mechanical engineering perspective, but software. They're writing their own code. I just have never seen anything like this. I have people in the industry coming up to me, go, "How did they do that?" And to your point, it's like most of these people have had very successful careers, and they saw wheelchairs, and because I've asked them this question, I go, "What made you?" And they go, "We know we can do a better job." And
Mhm.
applying their experience to this, it's been amazing to watch firsthand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To close it out on a companion patent, the main invention there is how do you connect companion to the wheelchair? And we invented a brand new way of connecting to the wheelchair, which not only not compromises the rigidity of the chair, but improves on it.
Yeah.
And again, we are unique. And that's one part why our customers love us so much, because it's so easy to get it on and off.
Yeah.
And it doesn't require help or support. They
Yeah.
can do it themselves. So giving them that freedom and movement.
Yeah. We were fortunate. We actually met one of the customers when we were there at the site visit, and very impressed with what he had to say. And I think he was wearing out the wheels. He was using it so much. I think it was a
Right.
comment he made. Yeah.
Yeah. First time he came to us, he came and we look at his companion. When did you buy it? It was in June. He bought it in April. He had over 1,000 miles on it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. That's
It's
amazing.
life-changing. Life-changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, listen, let's take some questions and then I'll jump back to my questions. So Russell says, how much investment do you think is required to get the Curio cost down to about $6,000 each?
So it's hard to say, Russell, but I can tell you what would be the ways we can reduce. One is just economy of scale. When I buy 10 parts, my cost is $100. Like I can give you actuators,
Yeah.
which we were buying. Initial price we were paying $132. This year, when we committed and did an open PO with them, same actuator is $52.
Right.
So you can see already reduction in half. Then we have some welding. I'm now looking into getting automated welding in place. So that will take some money. I don't know how much at this time, but I know that in the long run, that's going to be much cheaper to have robots weld wheelchair versus people. And there is a lot of avenues where you can reduce the cost and reduce the price.
Mhm. Fantastic. Okay, next question comes from Paulo. He says, do you think you will need to raise more money again?
I think so. It's the nature of any business. The more successful you are, the more need for money comes in. And there will be need to raise more money to build more chairs, to build wider sales networks. So yes, I would say that at some point we will have to raise more money.
Mhm.
And
What,
there is
what,
the warrants which will
yeah,
actually give ability to people reinvest into Cheelcare.
yeah. And one thing to sort of highlight here is kind of like what Alan and Eugene were saying is it's important to get a demonstration model out there into the marketplace to help actually gain traction, right? So it's almost like the more demand there is for these distribution models, the more cash the company's going to need to get out there. But obviously, it's an investment that pays itself back pretty quickly. So needing more money in this circumstance would actually be a good thing. So. But technically, right now, if we were to take away the cost of the going public and the extra audit fees and stuff like that, you're actually a profitable business right now, just on the companion product. So we're talking about now just really elevating and getting growth capital to really accelerate the rate of growth that you guys got.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly the case.
yeah, yeah.
We
So
take out
that's sort
the
of
ordinary, yes.
yeah, so that sort of answers your second question, Paulo, as far as when it's profitable. Technically, the company's profitable now, but the majority of the capital is going to go into growing much, much faster here.
Yeah, you can't grow a company on receivables.
Yeah, it's going to be, especially a business like this, it's going to be challenging, yeah, for sure. Okay, Jill says, can you talk about the subcontractor who will manufacture the Curio? How confident are you that the subcontractor will meet your quality standards for the Curio, and how many can they produce per month?
Okay, in terms of quality, it's very simple. Any manufacturer of medical devices, and we're a manufacturer of medical devices, have to be certified under ISO 13485. 65, sorry. And that demands implementation of quality management system, and it's FDA regulated. You have to be listed as an FDA company, and Cheelcare today is listed as a FDA company. We also have a license right above my head here. It's called MDEL, Medical Device Establishment License, which gives us license to manufacture medical devices in Canada. So it's a heavily regulated industry. So in terms of subcontractors, they will all have to be certified. To date, we have one Canadian subcontractor. It's called Sterling Industries, and they are ISO certified, and they have factories both in Canada and US. And we have another company which was recommended to us by Toyota, actually. It's a company called Rebuild, and they have facilities all over the states where they can do the same thing. And their facilities are as well ISO 13465 certified.
In volume.
Yeah, in terms of volume, once you start making them again, we've seen what kind of progress we can do with the proper organization of manufacturing. So with now new knowledge which we gained from Toyota, and that knowledge keeps, so to speak, given, I think we can produce as many as needed.
Yeah, and a note on the Toyota part component, we actually won an award where they're providing a year of consulting with respect to this, but they themselves have just extended it for another year. Each one of their visits, if we were to actually pay for it, would be $6,000. So they're really raising the bar in terms of they call it the Toyota way, but we all know they have excellent quality, and it's more about a culture of manufacturing and how you run a company. And I've really enjoyed the interaction with them, and look forward to continuing down that path.
That's fantastic. Okay, so Ray says or asks, is I guess the Curio and maybe a companion, is it partially covered by provincial or private insurance? Maybe let's talk about that piece. That's an important piece of this.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's an excellent question. So here in Ontario, so the ministry, we'll start with Ontario because the Ministry of Health has a subset called the Assistive Device Program. So it's all mobility related products. And so we are listed with that. We're the very first tiller mount style of power assist ever to be listed with the Ontario government. And the allowable is healthy. And what happens is that they pay for 75% of it. The client's responsible for 25%. However, if the client is on ODSP, which is like welfare, that ODSP will pick up the other 25%. So for most adults, unfortunately, there's a high correlation between being disabled and being unemployed. And so a lot of people, it's 100% covered. There's a funding program in the province of Quebec called RAMQ, and we're now listed with them, and we're the first product as well they're listed, and they pay 100% of that. We're also one of our other big sales channels right now with the companion is the VA, Veterans Hospitals in the United States. There's 150 that are actually prescribing mobility devices for their veterans, and they've been paying for it. And we're also have some very favorable through Center of Medicaid and Medicare Services, CMS. They're going to make a announcement August 15th about there is an allowable, or they call it a HCPC code for that device, but it's very antiquated. It's probably done in the late 80s or early 90s, so there's not a lot of money there, but it looks like it's going to be revamped for effective October 1st this year, which would, so yes, and obviously with the Curio, it's going to be reimbursed. And that's the thing at the beginning, when I first started talking, what really appeals to me is the Curio in particular fits within the reimbursement landscape. And I can't stress the importance of that, because no matter how great the technology is, if there's not reimbursement through the government, you're not likely to sell very many. And this is a very important aspect of our business. So yes, we're well aligned that way moving forward.
Perfect. Okay, great. Next question is from Russell again. It says, do you or will you have the option to raise more money without diluting shares? I guess that's either, it's government funding or debt or something like that. Yeah.
Dima can answer that.
Mhm.
Yeah, the only way doing that, I think, is tapping different programs, federal and provincial, and we are doing that. It's a tough way, but I hope we can get some money from FedDev or from the province. Not much, I would say. It's all in the range 500,000 to $1 million, but every penny counts, especially if it's non-diluting. And
historically, as a company, we were quite successful in attracting non-dilutive capital through CHER program, where we gain about 200,000 a year. We also have a good relationship with NRC and IRAP, which funded partially our research for the wheelchair. So we have access to different programs. And now, like Dima said, we have Ontario program, which we have a letter saying that they will give us about $500,000.
600 actually, 580. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
The
So
next question.
When it's available, we'll love to get non-dilutive.
You'll take it. Yeah, absolutely. Guys, since the founding of the company, how much money would you say has gone into the business? How much have you either raised or reinvested back into the business?
Yeah.
That's obviously I can retrieve the total number. I would say it's
Even ballpark.
so far. Need to open the balance.
Well, Dima,
I would say it's around 3.5 mil so far. Yeah.
And then yeah, it raised another 3.5 million. So yeah.
Not counting founders.
Yeah. Sweat and
Effort,
blood and
effort,
tears.
sweat,
Yeah.
and blood, and blood. Yes, correct.
Exactly. Awesome. Okay, question from Trevor, who lives in the UK. He says, "Do you have possible manufacturing facilities in UK or Europe, or would you ship from Canada? Is there product competition over here?"
If it depends on the product. So for companion, yes, there is a huge product competition, but again, the way we design companion, it's highly attractive to resellers in UK, and we already have huge interest. Yes, we need contacts in NHS, and now we're trying to see what's the proper process of getting companion on the market in UK.
Yeah,
In terms of manufacturing, Canada has a unique position of being a resource country. So for us, producing in Canada has amazing benefits. So it's cheaper to ship product made in Canada than, for example, for now, for us to make companion in Canada is cheaper than making it in China.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I also
Really, maybe not really cheaper, but definitely safer. And there is a principle in this company, which is for every critical component, we have at least two suppliers. And therefore, we always tend to go to the local suppliers. And the current for when we talk about companion, the Canadian content is close to 70%, and now with the new controller being produced now in Canada, it will go like 80%.
Oh, fantastic.
So for Curio, with all the welding and other things done, we estimate the Canadian content at least on the same level.
Fantastic. So this is truly a Canadian product. This is fantastic. We're
yeah, I was gonna say a note about the UK. A little while ago, we got a distributor reached out to us and started buying our backup camera with ultrasonic sensors, which is a nice little feature. People in power wheelchairs can't see behind them, and they damage a lot of their chairs or their property. Then they found out about the companion, and so right now they're working with us to get regulatory compliance. They saw the Curio on YouTube or something, and they're willing to fly over here with their technicians and everyone when their time is ready. That we would ship, but we would ship from Canada. Obviously, right now we're focusing more in Canada and the United States, but this distributor I have a very high comfort level with. They specialize in complex rehab, so it's a really good fit. And we're getting many countries around the world have been reaching out to us, but we just got to be very strategic in how we move forward. But we're already doing some business in the UK, and I can see that growing substantially. Once we get regulatory compliance.
It's also very important to note that U.S. market, U.S. and Canadian, North American market stands for over 47% in monetary terms of the world market. So yes, in terms of numbers of the devices, yes, Europe is important, but when we talk about, we do not oppose Europe, but the primary markets is North America.
It's a very good point, Dima. And just to shed some more information with respect to that, when I was a general manager of Permobil Canada, Permobil is a global company, actually Swedish, head office in Sweden. But when I was there, and I think it's still around the same, between United States and Canada, those two countries provided 75% of the global margin contribution. Canada is number 2 after United States, and even more so than Germany and any other European country. Sorry. So it's just something to be very mindful of. This is kind of the epicenter from a monetary perspective of where the sales are.
Well, good, fantastic, good to know. Okay, a couple more questions here. Jill says, how many Curio chairs do you hope to sell in calendar year 2026?
Dim, what was the model calling for? Oh, you mute.
Oh, you're muted, Dima.
Yes. So the plan is to go on the confirmed, so to say, sales. And I think Alan has to say a couple words about our main dealer in Ontario, who has access, like hands-on SEP, and that's what's the first potential that we see. Further down, let me see the numbers.
Okay, so let Alan talk
Well,
about.
while you're looking at those numbers, just what Dima is alluding to, here in Ontario, within the assisted device program, there's another subset called the essential equipment pool, and it's a contract, and one dealer, they're called Motion, has that contract. So I mentioned earlier that in the province of Ontario, every month they're reimbursing between 125 and 135 of these chairs. The vice president of that company, I know very well, and as soon as we get listed with ADP, and it's imminent, based on where we're at with respect to that, he's going to give me a purchase order for 100 chairs. And I just saw him last week in Sudbury, Ontario. I did a show there, and they met with me and go for an update where we are with the Curio, and they're very, very interested and very supportive of getting to start selling that product. Like Lyndhurst, where I mentioned earlier, prior to me bringing Permobil on board, Permobil had 0 sales. Right now, it's almost 100% Permobil coming out of there, and the goal is to switch that to Curio once we get it listed. So once we get listed, we should ramp up quickly if we can meet the demand. So obviously, it's we want to be very strategic in how we do that and manage that very carefully.
Yes, Dima, you look, probably our number called for about 500 to 600 chairs the first year of manufacture.
I will be cautious to say that for the first year it's 300, and going forward, when FDA has approval and we get the demo models to the dealers, it can go as as that happened with Companion, like ninefold. When we got the ADP approval, and remember Ontario is 20 times less than US market. So I would say that can go over 1,000 a year.
Just a note on that demo placement. You mentioned the dealer. Well, really in the United States in particular, we'll take Craig Hospital, for example. Craig Hospital is the largest spinal cord hospital in the world. It's situated in Denver, Colorado. 50% of their patients are out of state. So that's where I would put a demo in the actual rehab facility. So the prescribing therapist is actually using that. If they like it, then they'll write the prescription for it. And that's really how the sale is generated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe we should highlight that. It's not typical for a person to come and buy their own wheelchair. These are prescribed to the patients. This is almost like it's a prescription.
It is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It's a prescription. And, depending on their situation, they'll write the prescription, and that it has to be an authorized, like in here in Ontario, it has to be an authorized ADP prescriber. They're typically an occupational therapist, and in some cases a physical therapist, but typically a therapist. And they are the doctor in this case. Mm-hmm. And without that prescription, you're not getting, because they have to meet certain criteria to get all the different features and functions on a wheelchair. And it's the therapist that will determine that, not the dealer. Mm-hmm. The dealer fills the prescription.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, Jennifer asked, do you consider the Curio chair to be complete, or are there many more engineering challenges to overcome? Where does your engineering team go from here, and do you have new products on the horizon?
I'll answer that.
This is exciting.
Well, we always joke because, an individual's best attribute is usually their worst attribute. And what I will say about the engineers here, they can't help themselves. They're always trying to make it better, but the product is ready for market. End of story. Will it get better? Absolutely. I can just tell how these guys operate. So what we have moving forward is The next chair we want to do is a pediatric chair. Nobody in the world does the appropriate pediatric complex rehab chair. What they do is they take a large adult base and put a little tiny seat on it. So most parents don't want their 6-year-old on a 450-pound platform going around. You really, it's terrible. So picture the Curio, but a scaled down version. And we're thinking Eugene feels we can get it to seat the floor height between 8 and 10 inches, which is unbelievable. And that'll be the next thing. Is really, if you're going to be using powered mobility, we would like to get your first chair should be a Curio, and so or Curio Junior. We haven't named it yet. And then when you get older, you'd move up and get another Curio. And also, if you look at the current Curio with its anterior tilt coming forward, we're very close to doing a standing chair. And for example, Permaville United States sells over 100 standing chairs a month, every month. And so it's basically you do elevate, tilt, recline, power legs, and stand. And there's a lot of clinical studies showing that we are designed to stand for weight bearing, for bone density, for respiratory, for circulatory, and on and on and on. So it's right now in the CMS, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services of the United States, are reviewing standing because it looks like they're going to reimburse it. Right now, what they will reimburse is the elevate, tilt, recline, power legs, and not the last little bits. The client portion is relatively small, but that looks like it may get covered. And so, yeah, we do have other designs. We also want to do, we're actually it's happening as we speak, with Companion 2.0 will be ready soon. We also have our current Companion's got an 8-inch drive wheel. We're working on a 10-inch drive wheel with a little more aggressive tire for people living up north or in Quebec or places where there's a little bit more snow in that. So there's the long list of things we can work on, but we're going to focus obviously right now on the Companion and Curio, and in particular getting Curio to market.
That's the trouble of having so many smart engineers, is they're always coming up with new ideas. So it's a little bit of a curse. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that tire design is finished and it has been already placed, and it's in 2 months we will have it.
Yeah. So no shortage of new ideas, obviously. That's fantastic. And Jennifer just I guess added a question, perhaps add-on accessories. So clearly that's what we're talking about, add-on accessories or modifications of some of the key accessories that are available. Fantastic. Okay, so WC says, in the sales process, where do you consider your choke points to be? The therapist, insurers, or anybody else?
It's an excellent question. Well, you're not going to sell anything unless a therapist believes in what you're doing. So one of the things that you talk about how we would use the money is we want to hire a clinical educator who probably has a background in occupational therapy and in complex rehab. So the big thing what we need to do is educate. So we need to educate the therapists about the product, and already the feedback's been phenomenal. Probably one of the choke points is the choke point, if there is one, is that these large dealer networks are trying to get as much margin as possible. So what's happened over the years, it's been almost a race to the bottom, that the way companies are getting their market share, because it's all Me Too products, they're lowering their pricing to the dealer and giving them exorbitant margins. We're going to give a fair margin, but we're not going to play that game. We have very unique technology, and I did it with Permaville in Canada. I never had much of a margin, but I knew we had a better product, and it's pull through. You go to the therapist. And I got, even with Permaville, I got pushed back. Prior to Motion having the central equipment pool, it was Shoppers Home Healthcare, a division of Shoppers Drug Mart, which they got rid of. And they did not want to take on Permaville simply because they didn't want to have additional inventory and things of that nature. So I was blacklisted, but that's fine. I went to the Lyndhurst and Ottawa Rehab and GF Strong in Vancouver and so on and so forth. And you educate, and then the therapist prescribes it. They have to fill the prescription. So that'll be a bit of a pushback, but I'm prepared for that.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned occupational therapist, but we should mention too that Sheila Buck just joined the board of the company, and she's a very well-known occupational therapist. Maybe talk a little bit about that piece.
Yeah, so Sheila, we both know for years, we can talk for hours, but she was the one who inspired our chair, and she basically handheld us to the features and everything through all the 10 years it took us to create it. So she's intimately familiar with the company, with the products, and for the first time at ISS, She did presentation based on Curio wheelchair, and it's not normal for these congresses, for these symposiums, to accept a presentation which promotes the product. But because in that category, there was nothing else, it doesn't exist. The actually organizers said, yeah, you can do the presentation and use just one product to basically prove your point.
Well, yeah, note on that. It's a very good point. So the International Seating Symposium, it's all about education, and you can't go in there and do a commercial. You can't talk about your own product. But I know the directors of that show. I called them and explained the uniqueness of Curio and the fact that Sheila was going to do a presentation. Sheila's a bit of a guru in this industry. She's highly regarded and gives us almost immediate credence from a clinical perspective. And so if we stick to the clinical efficacy of what we're trying to do here, and that's what Sheila did. Her presentation got accepted. So it was the last day of the show. It was a Saturday morning, 8:30. I will say the night before, she was very nervous. No one's going to come to my presentation. Well, it was sold out, over 75 people. They had to kick us out of the room because another person was going to present. It spilled out into the hallway, the amount of questions and when can we get it. Just, I've overwhelming response, and Sheila certainly be a big part of that. And the fact she's part of our board of directors, I think, is fantastic, and having that clinical balance, shall we say, in terms of what we're trying to accomplish here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've got to state something. I know Roy is with us as well, chairman of the board. You guys have a very strong board for a company of this size right now. We're very impressed with the people that you've attracted. Clearly, if you can attract guys like Alan and Roy and Sheila, obviously it says a lot about the team you've put together here. Okay, let's go on to a few more questions here. Paulo says, do any of the founders intend on selling stock after the lockup?
No, not at this time.
I always love it when we get right to the point
No,
here.
it's a very simple explanation. We're in the beginning of the big growth. So selling stock now, it's basically shortchanging ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you've waited 10 years. Hard to imagine you want to run out of the gate right now. Or would you be buyers of stock if the stock were to open down? What are your thoughts around that?
Absolutely. I
Mm-hmm.
strongly believe in our company and owning as much of it as possible. So should the opportunity arise, yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And okay, and would you be open to takeout offer? Maybe let's talk about this because there's not a lot of players in the space, right? For a reason. It seems like every time there's innovation, somebody comes along and tries to buy out the innovation. Is that something that's likely here?
Yeah, there's 4 major players on the market. And once we start eating their breakfast, their dinner, and their lunch, they will come with the big money. Some of them are supported by world's largest private equity funds. So again, they're very cautious about their margins, about their revenue, and we're already hurting them. In some areas with Companion, we took away their revenue. So we're definitely on their scope all the time.
Was there not a competing product companion just get pulled or get some sort of slap on the wrist recently?
It was from Permobile product called Smart Drive, and that's where the salespeople in Ontario refuse to go on the trials if they know they're going to compete against Companion. They're saying, "Why would I waste time?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
And those people at Permaville Canada, I hired them all. I know them all very well. I did leave Permaville on very good terms. It's just time for a new adventure, and this is the adventure. So now they joke, and they go, "We hear it's if our rep's going to be coming out with a companion, they don't even show up because they know they're not going to get the sale."
Mm-hmm.
But they had 2 FDA recalls on the Smart Drive. It's unfortunate for them. I certainly don't wish that on anybody, but it's different technology, but in the same funding category. But regardless, yeah, we've really hurt them, in particular here in Ontario, we got listed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Question for Alan says, would the economic environment, weak or strong, affect Cheelcare? I mean, this is not a product that's affected by economic swings.
We're recession proof. That's an excellent question as well. But no, we're recession proof.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Russell asks, can someone upgrade their wheelchair from what's prescribed?
to like a Curio.
Well, maybe Russell, I don't know if you, I don't know, maybe features. Let's say they've got a Curio, a
No,
year later they need some. Russell, go for it.
okay. No, what I meant was if they were prescribed like a regular wheelchair and wanted a Curio.
Oh, good question. It's funny. Last year we had a young woman from Newfoundland, St. John's. She's an engineer actually, and getting her master's at Memorial University. She came to Toronto on business, unbeknownst to us. When she arrived in Toronto, Air Canada had damaged her power base. And so a friend of hers knew us and called us and said, would you have a Curio my friend can borrow for a few days here on business? And so when she used it, remember, she's only used powered mobility her entire life. While she was there, she called back to her dealer because they had just placed an order for her new Permobil, and she said cancel the order. And I said to her, her name's Ashley. I go, Ashley, the Curio is probably not ready for another year. And she goes, I don't care, I'll wait. So
Wow.
yes, and this is a case where I got a call from the occupational therapist. She met me at the Canadian Seating Mobility Conference and at the International Seating Symposium. When we get a chair ready, one of the first ones we're going to do is go to Newfoundland, and she wants me to do a in-service at her seating clinic in St. John's, because right now all they do is Permobil. And the last time I went there, all they were doing is Invacare. So again, it's interesting how these things can happen. But yeah, that's they certainly can. They need to get their therapist to rewrite that prescription. But yes, when they'll do it if they see it. And yeah. But one other thing you can have with the Curio, you can get it with. It comes standard with elevation and tilt because it's just part of the design. Let's say down the road something changes, you can add on to it power recline and power elevating leg rests and other accessories, and that's that'd be a fully loaded system.
Yeah. Fantastic. I got to say, like, where my kids go to school, right next door to it, there's a facility of some kind where there's a lot of people in these type of wheelchairs. The day I see a Curio come out of there, I might shed a tear. I mean, this is getting emotional because I'm very impressed with what you guys are doing and the impact you guys are going to have on people's lives. Because Alan, you really expressed to us when we were there, any incremental improvement has a massive effect on these people's lives. So a number of these improvements that you're making are really, really going to change people's lives. I'm so happy I could be part of this.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's until you actually understand what these people experience, sometimes it can be the smallest, subtle little thing, but even being able to transfer onto a toilet by yourself, it's a lot of people's dignity and their independence, their quality of life, and you're just trying to make the best of that situation. And unfortunately, not a lot of technology has trickled down into our industry just the way the reimbursement structured. And so, if I go this very quickly, earlier on in my career, when I was with Motion Concepts, one of the owners, we were really known for our innovation. And at these major trade shows, someone would come in, whether it be an ATP or dealer or therapist, and they'd say hi, and they go, "What's new?" And you'd show them what's new. I haven't had that question in 20 years. People aren't expecting anything new. So we really are, this is really making an impact when people see it and they're like, wow, like we haven't seen anything like that in years. So it's, yeah, absolutely. It's that social return on investment in terms of our career, my career choice, an engineer. It's been very satisfying.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Trevor asks, can you use AI to control the chair?
Short answer, yes. Long answer, no. There is attempts to make autonomous driving for the wheelchairs. We've done a project about 3 years ago. There's a human factor to that. A lot of people who drive wheelchairs, they do not want any intervention into their ability to drive. That's one of the last things they can do by themselves. So there is a University of Chicago is studying this problem quite a bit. There's a couple of Canadian companies I know who are trying. Besides, it's infinitely more complex problem than driving car autonomously. It's also different human factor. So
yeah, I mean that was something Alan and Eugene you mentioned to us. So many of these people have very little control over their lives. To have something like this taken away from them is actually like those of us that are very mobile. We don't understand how important it is to have even the minutest amount of control over their mobility. They don't want that taken away from them.
Another thing to mention is that just like if you, like I have just two kids in recent years got their driver's license, and you're not allowed to use any of that technology to park the vehicle or anything. You need to show that you're driving on your own. The exact same thing applies to, like here in Ontario, if you're an ADP authorizer, you have to demonstrate to the authorizer that you're able to control your chair by yourself, whether it's with a joystick or sip and puff or proximity control device. There's a lot of alternate, but you need to be able to do it, and or you will not get it reimbursed. So it's kind of interesting where we're at with that technology. But right until you're right. Yes, but no.
Yes, but no.
But Eugene can speak more about that. The Curio is filled with the modern technologies. Just when it goes to self-driving, no, it's not that we're going to push in terms of the limiting the risks for the users going through the narrow passages and other. Yes, that's probably the way it will go, semi-autonomic, and it already has certain AI capabilities because with the self-leveling and everything, it's the most advanced chair in the market.
Yeah, fantastic. No, absolutely. Thanks for adding that, Dima. Okay, so Russell asked, can we hear a little bit about Roy Ellis? Maybe somebody can speak to Roy and his experience and what he means to the company.
I can introduce Roy. Roy was actually our first angel investor who basically like a grandfather for this company, godfather, because otherwise company wouldn't exist. So he was able to pull a group of early investors, and he was a blessing for us. In terms of his experience, I'll let Roy talk.
Roy, if you'd like to unmute yourself and say a few words.
Yeah, sure. Thanks to everyone. This is a magical day. I was at the office today and I witnessed the latest enhancements of Curio. Yeah, about 6 years ago, I met these folks. But before that, I was with McDonald's Corporation, and I ran Western Canada, 420 restaurants. I was the general manager. Actually, was HR head for the U.S. business when we went through the reorg in 2001. HR head for Canada, and was part of the team, the Wolfpack team that opened McDonald's in Russia in 1990. So a lot of firsts there and a lot of fun, and have been very, very, very fortunate. When I retired at a young age, I think of about 55, did some consulting for some of the major retail brands, etc. I started doing a lot of community work. I chaired the Economic Development Corporation of North Simcoe, sat on the tourism board, many boards, condo boards, Vancouver, Toronto, those types of things. But I actually set up a conference, a symposium, if you wish, as the chair of the Economic Development Corporation, to marry advanced manufacturing with healthcare. So we had a lot of like the hospitals and Waypoint up in Simcoe, a lot of large manufacturers, Raytheon and Magna, and we pulled them all together in a conference, and we shared stories to see how we could connect those two disciplines. And lo and behold, Eugene and Dima and his team, they wanted to display the first version of Curio. This is about 6 years ago. And the old saying is, they got such a great reaction, and I love the company so much, I decided I wanted to buy part of it. So that's the story. That's 6 years ago. And to this day, and again, with COVID coming in, and I always say to the folks that you don't sell these products on Amazon. These are customized. These are prescribed. These are for people. We're dealing with humans here. So we have to pivot. And the guys pivoted to Companion, which was just quite amazing how they did this. And I'm a big supporter. And no, I don't plan on selling any stock. I'll preempt that question. I'm all in on this, and my wife and I, we just feel great about the opportunity to add value to people that are less fortunate than us. That's my.
Awesome. Awesome. Roy, thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. Okay, let's rip off these other questions and then we'll let the guys get back to work here. Jennifer says, are you going to customize the chairs for people with unique needs? I mean, I think that's one of the uniqueness of this is that it is almost built to be customized for patients. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
No, that's a really good question. You got to think of the modalities we're dealing with. It's a very large spectrum from spinal cord injuries to neuromuscular conditions, and everything in between. And as we're all unique as we are in terms of our shape, our weight, and how we carry our weight. And then, so this chair is designed for custom seating, alternate drive controls, anything you can imagine, because every chair, when it's finally configured and dispensed, is probably unique for that individual in itself, to make sure they're positioned the best they can. So it has to be designed that way. And for example, like on the side of the chair, we have all kinds of what I call real estate to hook on, say, abductors or adductors or lateral supports. And you might have an O2 holder and a ventilator with its own dedicated power supply because the person's vented, and you got to make sure it's set up from that perspective. But yes, that's when you say complex rehab, it's not something where you walk into a showroom and pick the model over there like a scooter, and away you go. And these people typically can ambulate a little bit or just want some additional. This is, again, I said it a couple times, it's an extension of you. When you get up in the morning, however you transfer out of your bed into your chair, now that's your legs for the rest of the day and how you interact with your world. So it's you've got to have that flexibility, and these guys have done it. It's and then obviously, as you heard, not just Sheila Buck, there were some other therapists, and these are famous therapists here in Canada. Karen Hall, Pro Graves, we're all part of this focus group providing clinical input. Where do I put this? Where do I put that? And because that's what they do for a living, that's what they've done for years, and so that was really good for them to draw that in. That was even before my time, but I do know those people. Yes, so it's everyone is unique in control.
Fantastic. Gilles asks, is somebody currently using the Curio wheelchair? For how many kilometers has it been tested?
Oh, first, Curio wheelchair. So in the wild, we sold in Alberta to Workers' Compensation Board. So we have a customer who uses it in everyday life and also golfing on it. So I don't know what's his current mileage count, but he's definitely enjoying it. And we did the yearly service with him. Chair is still in a very good condition, and he lives on a farm. So he uses it in multiple environments, not just city. He lives in a rugged environment.
And just one thing that Eugene mentioned here, and hopefully it's not lost on you, but he mentioned he golfs in it. Like people don't golf in wheelchairs. It just doesn't happen. And they never designed this chair to take you golfing, but its ability, what it can do, like laterally tilt you over for putting. Like he golfs with one arm. I've met him. I've been to his house. The way it can go into a bunker and come back out again. Like it's just unheard of. It can go, and because it's light and it's got omnidirectional wheels, it can go onto a green. Now it's not a championship golf course he goes to, but they let him use it on the golf course. So it's an incredible kind of side story to person and what it's done for his life. And he's a very young. He just got married, very young guy when he had his accident. So you can imagine, when he's in his early 20s and his mobility's taken away from him, and at least he's golfing again, and it's pretty a smile to our faces.
Yeah, yeah. And Eugene, maybe explain to me when we were there and when we did our first visit, we saw sort of the testing or some of the testing that was done to the Curio. This is not something that is not tested. I mean, you guys have put a lot of, I'd say, miles on these things to test them to show the regulatory bodies that what this is capable of doing.
The most unique thing came when ADP, so it's a regulatory body, they start testing Curio, and usually all these wheelchairs are tested in a home environment. Suddenly they will get a report that basically states, when we drove it on incline on a wet grass, it performed amazingly well. And it's like, interesting, because you never approve anything for outdoors and you never test your wheelchairs outdoors. And they felt so confident in abilities of Curio that they themselves started to test it outdoors,
That's amazing.
which was kind of shocking. But yes,
That's
we tested on every surface. So
yeah,
that,
yeah. Okay, a bit of a follow-on question. It says, if or when a Curio chair breaks down, will you supply parts? Will you service, or will that be done locally?
it will be a combination of both, because we have dealers, so all the chairs sold through dealers. Dealers, most of them have ATPs, assistive technology professionals, who can fix the wheelchairs. And even now with companions, we have some of them fixed locally by dealers. Those who cannot, they ship it to us and we fix it. We're also now in the process of hiring local technicians who will provide training and they will be able to fix it.
Yeah, but the majority of the service and support will come from our providers or dealers that we sell to.
Mhm.
We always talk, that really is our customer. We culturally think of the client as our customer because that's really our focus. But we use the Ontario model here. Motion is a dealer. We would sell to them. Even with the companion, we may get a thing where a client is worn out his tire, which is a great thing, and they'll order a tire from us. We sell it to the dealer, and the dealer will put the tire on. We really ultimately are not set up to be a provider, so we have to partner with very strong dealers, and that's where I come into the picture. I've been doing this for most of my career, and I know all the strong players. So that's something we partner up with to make sure that they're the best and understand complex rehab. And like for example, I use the Craig Hospital. Like you cannot get funding from CMS if it's prescribed from Craig Hospital unless you have ATP. Like you got to be certified so you can access that funding, and that means these people are skilled individuals that work on complex chairs.
Mhm.
Alan,
So-
can you say a few words about the reps, about the rep groups in the States? Because I think it's very important in terms of getting service if
Yeah. You're only as good as your representation. So I have a lot of experience in it. And for example, today we brought on, so our first training session, we did it just before this meeting. We brought on what's called the Brewis Group. The Brewis Group is there's 6 individuals and they cover California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Alaska, and Hawaii. And up until now, we have had no representation, or we have one dealer that's buying stuff. But these guys are the best. And, so I've been working on this for a period of time. They met me at ISS. As soon as they saw the Curio, they lost it, and the deal was done. They go, we're signing up. So yeah, it's really important. So I have a good experience. And just 2 weeks ago, I signed up someone for British Columbia and Alberta. Again, a really good individual. And for me, I'd rather have no representation than bad representation. So I'm really systematically going around making sure we're bringing the best people on board. As really they're an extension of what we do, and in terms of professionalism and making sure they're doing the right thing, it's important to have that comfort level. So that's part of kind of what my bailiwick in terms of getting that in place. And I've done it several times, so it's I know all the players.
Trevor asked a following question from earlier as far as AI. If not AI, can it be voice controlled when necessary? I mean, you have all the sort of common functions of, well, I wouldn't say common functions, all the different, what's the word, control capabilities that are standard. So anything that's been done before, you guys are doing the same thing, whether it's voice control, mouth controlled, or however you phrased it, right?
I guess
Yeah.
you can put like a mouse device inside your mouth and do it with the tongue.
Yeah.
So there is
Wow.
millions of different ways how to
Wow.
control the wheelchair.
Chin control,
Chin.
little mini joystick where they use their chin to actually control everything. There's
Wow.
nothing we can't do. We're not limited by any we call it alternate drive controls, but we are compatible with any in the market.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Fantastic. Okay, Russell says, so if each chair can be slightly unique, how does that affect the production line? Does that change anything you're doing? No.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
It's when Toyota start making cars, because Toyota is actually not a car company originally. They faced the same issue. They had Ford in the States, who was manufacturing. You can get any car as long as it's black. So they were manufacturing similar cars in huge volumes. Problem in Japan was that they had to manufacture much smaller volumes and a much more variety, more models. So that's where Toyota was godsend to us because they're used to small production with a big variety. Another factor, when we create products, with Dima's background in automotive engineering, we design the product where, let's say, 90% of the product is the same. And then that 10% will give you that customization. So it allows us to pre-build this 90% and then do final assembly where we add this 10% of spice, so to speak, to customize it according to customer needs.
The chair itself, it's a really good question. Let's say the chair goes off the assembly line and the seat size is 16 by 16 because it was adjusted to that. The next chair, you could adjust it to 20 by 20 or 20 by 18. Same as where the back canes are located. Everything's adjustable. Another thing is like someone might be left-handed, so the joystick will go on the left side, not the right side. So the majority of the customization is built into the design. So it's a platform. Just you can adjust it.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, a few more questions. Paulo says, can you collect data from users if they accept? I guess maybe feedback. I mean, how do we deal with feedback, and how does that work in this industry, if at all?
Well, I can answer that. It's you'll get feedback right away if there's something wrong, and you'll get that not just from the client but from the therapist. It could be a family member, it could be the provider or dealer. They'll let you know. It's a critical aspect of what we do. I tell everybody, and this is one of the things we're building here culturally, and Eugene, Dima, and everyone, we're already wired this way. Is that in this industry, yes, you're judged on your technology, your product offerings, but you're probably more judged when there's a problem. And there will be a problem because this is, remember, an extension of a human being. And it's to be set up to be able to address that and really make the problem go away. And so,
yeah, I don't know what angle Paolo asked the question about. Was it more about getting the data out of the chair? This chair is connected. So it has Wi-Fi, it has Bluetooth. We can hook it up to the internet. Trouble with this, and you mentioned it very nicely, if they accept. Because Permobile tried to launch something where they remotely monitor chairs. And most of the users treat it as a big brother who is watching over us.
Yeah, they didn't like it.
So we have ability, we pre-built it into the chair. So everything on our chair is configured through the phone. So that's how the upgrades happen. That's how they can send us configuration file. It's just turning the switch saying, would you like us? We can probably do that as well.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Is there anything, guys, that keeps you guys up at night right now? What challenges are you facing?
I use a very interesting analogy from track and field. Imagine where you're standing on the starting blocks, you're in a low position, and you're waiting for that gun to go off.
Yeah.
So that's basically the way we are now. We're in a low position, waiting for the gun to go off, to start building manufacturing, to start selling. So that's basically trying to always process and plan for the future. That's what keeps us up most.
Yeah.
It
must feel like it's taken you 10 years to get to the starting line.
Yeah.
It's also for me, it's managing kind of expectations, and that's why having a very strategic launch and where we go first and how we support it. That's critical that we do this properly, and I'm comfortable with that. But yeah, I think a lot about that.
Paulo earlier had asked, I might as well ask now, the IPO. You guys are, do you have any sense of when you're going public? I keep telling everybody it's soon, but maybe either you, Trevor, Dima, anybody, what's the next steps, and when do you think we'll be public?
We have submitted everything to the exchange. We got the conditional approval. We worked out all the conditions to get through. So it's the last step to go over the finish line. But we've got the conditional approval already. So it's more of the lawyer's field. I would be very cautious here by the end of the month.
Yeah, we're close. To keep saying it, we're close, as close as we've been. Okay, I'm going to take the last question from Jennifer, and then we're going to wrap it up here. Jennifer says, "Are there any liability issues that you have to worry about? Say someone takes it off road and tries to climb up a hill that is too steep, and the chair tips over. What? Yeah,
Very
the
good
question.
question. Very
Yeah.
good question. And if you look at any user's manual for the wheelchair, first 17 pages are cautions and warnings and saying don't do this and don't do that. And main reason is again liability. Another part of liability is products are tested and they're rigorously tested. So we have to go to the same crash testing like cars do. We have ISO testing, weather testing, emissions testing, so all kinds of testings. Then when FDA, it's not approval, allows you to list the product, it's basically they partially confirm that the product is safe for intended use.
Yeah.
So if somebody's use is outside of intended use, so if somebody tries to climb a mountain and flips, it's on them.
The
And
last
we-
but
yeah,
Yeah.
and we have insurance which will cover for liability.
So
For the
we have a product liability insurance. Yes.
Yeah.
That depends on the volume, but it's covered.
Mhm.
What's interesting, when we submitted to ADP, they've already gotten back to us, and the majority of what they got back to us about is on our manual and from a product liability perspective. And they almost line item by line item kind of mapped out what they want to see. So before they can approve it. So it's exactly what they're saying. It can do things, but we got to make sure that people aren't trying to make there's always limitations with respect to anything. That's why we don't want to market it as a golf chair or this, but so make sure in our manual that there's a lot of cautions and don't do this, don't do that, along those regards.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, listen, this has been fantastic. I know I've certainly learned a lot more today, and I thought I knew a lot, but every time I talk to you guys, I seem to learn a little bit more. Is there any key message you want to make sure everybody walks away with today? What do you want everybody to really understand about Cheelcare?
Cheelcare, it's where basically, how would I put it? Where you will feel good about the investment because the money which you put into the company, they go into changing somebody's life. And though you might be separated from immediate connection, but we do get that connection. We get handwritten letters from our customers. So it's a really feel-good story.
Fantastic. I'm going to say, yeah. Sorry, I cut you off there. Anything else?
Yeah, no, and that's basically the main thing. The
Yeah.
guys are making amazing modern products which change people's lives. So that's what Cheelcare is.
Fantastic. I want to state something that Brad Haynes said here. It said, great presentation. Looking forward to the ride. Unfortunately, he has to disconnect, but he's hoping you continued success. Love what you were doing. And he says he will not be selling. So it's resonating with people. So, guys, congratulations on getting it here. Like I said, it feels like it's taken years to get to the starting gate, and now you're there. So we're excited. I'm super excited about seeing it come public, and I know a number of others are. So congratulations, and thanks again for the time you spent with us today. Looking forward to great things.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody. Trevor.
Thank you.
Excellent. We've been speaking with, the team, starting with Eugene, Cherny, Alan Boyd, Dima Paltsev, the team from Cheelcare. Thank you as well, Roy Ellis. CHER on the venture exchange when it comes to trade, hopefully here before the end of the month. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys trading. Thanks again, and bye for now.